going to go ahead and get started crocheting a flower just like this one. So for reference, kind of what a completed bouquet looks like is something along the lines of this. So you could choose whatever size vase you love, whatever material that you'd like to kind of fill the vase with. These are just some like glass marbles almost. You could do small stones, faux grass, anything of that nature. Or just nothing, of course. And then I just love choosing a color palette that I love and making a whole bunch of flowers kind of in varying sizes, which I'm going to show you how to do that now. And then attaching them to some floral wire. Now this is how the wire that I purchased came. It was just a pack of these long pieces of the wire. I believe this is 22 gauge, but this is the last one in my pack, and I don't have the packaging, so I think that's correct though. And then I just thread the flower through at the end and twist it to kind of form the stem. And then of course you could trim it with wire cutters to make the flowers themselves smaller if that was necessary for you. So let's go ahead and get started crocheting one of these flowers. I'm going to be using some moisturized DK weight cotton yarn. Absolutely any yarn, any weight would work well for this. You could just make the flower larger or smaller, kind of depending on the yarn that you're using, but I will link all of the materials that I am using down in the description box below for you to check out. And then I am also going to be using a size E or 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. So to get started, we're going to make a slip knot, place that on our hook, and then you can chain any even number for these flowers. The longer you make your chain, the larger your flower will be, and vice versa. A smaller amount of chain will result in a smaller flower. So for this specific one and for the pattern itself, I'm going to chain 26 stitches. But again, you could chain however much you want. Just make sure that it is a even number or a multiple of 2. So I'm going to chain 26 stitches. Alrighty, there are my 26 chains, and now I am just going to start my repeat, which is going to be the same thing all the way down, and then it'll be complete. These flowers are only 1 row long, which is amazing. So into the third chain from the hook, so I'm going to skip this first chain, skip the second chain. I'm going to work 5 double crochet stitches into that third chain. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 double crochet stitches, and then I'm just going to slip stitch into the next chain. Alrighty, and then I'll repeat. We're going to work 5 double crochet stitches into the next chain. So again, that's just yarn over, insert your hook into that next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and that is 1 double crochet. I'm going to repeat that 4 more times for a total of 5 stitches. 4 and 5, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next chain, and I'm just going to repeat that all the way across. So one more time, 5 double crochet stitches into the next chain, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then slip stitch into the next. So I'm just going to repeat that all the way across the rest of my chains here, and then I will meet back here to shape and form our flower. Alrighty, I have worked all the way across my chain with that same repeat, and this is what it is looking like right now. I'm going to go ahead and grab my scissors, and then leaving myself a little bit of a tail to sew this flower together, I'm going to trim my yarn, and then yarn over and pull through that last stitch to secure. Alrighty, and now we're just going to form our flower, and you kind of want to let your piece of crochet do the work here. I'm going to start at the other end and just start wrapping it around itself. Really all that I'm doing here is making sure that it's no longer twisted and that the chain is at the bottom and the petals are kind of sticking up and out. And so I'm just kind of letting it do its own thing, and then before you know it, it'll form the shape of a flower just like that. It is the coolest thing ever. I love this little pattern. Alrighty, and then I'm going to take my longer tail, set that down gently, and thread it through my yarn needle. There we go. And then I'm just going to turn the flower over to the back side and go through my chains here to secure it in place. So there's really no right or wrong way to do this. I just kind of like to go through all of the layers, go all the way across and pull through. I'm going to pull out my other tail. And also make sure that it's not caught on any of the petals. Sometimes it just gets looped around there. So make sure you're all secure. And then I'm going to do that a bunch more times. So I'm just going to go through all the way across the back side of the flower just a few more times to make it nice and secure. And then I'm using these flowers to make this little crochet bouquet. So this is not something that's going to be getting a ton of use, right? It's just going to kind of sit on the shelf as a decoration. But keep in mind whatever you are using these for. So maybe you want to sew them onto a blanket or something like that. I think that would be beautiful. Just kind of keep in mind what their use will be, and that'll determine how you might need to secure your ends, how much sewing you need to do to make this extra secure, anything like that. Alrighty, so once I have done that a few times, I'm just going to go back through again, and then on that last pass, I'm going to actually go kind of in the middle of some of these stitches on one of the petals, and then I will trim the tail there. And then for this other tail, I'm just going to weave it in as normal. So I'm just going to thread it through the yarn needle. This is what was used for our slip knot, so it's already nice and secure. I'm just going to thread it through the back side to kind of hide it. Just like that should be good. And then I'm going to trim that. And there is our completed flower. It is just so cute and little. These are the cutest little things. Another really fun idea would be like a hair bow for a little girl, or attach it to a headband or something. Would be so sweet as well. I've also made like a wreath. I've gotten like a wreath form and attached a whole bunch of flowers to it. Really beautiful use for them as well. So there's our completed flower. You could totally stop there, or you could make a leaf to kind of go on the side, and that is what I'm going to show you how to do next. Alrighty, for the leaf portion, I'm going to be using the same yarn in this darker green color. I'm going to make a slip knot and grab my hook again. I'm using the same size. And for the leaf, we are going to start by chaining 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then just like the flower, we're only going to work one round for these leaves, but we're going to work on both sides of the chain actually. So we're going to start by working a single crochet stitch into that second chain from the hook. And then we're going to work a half double crochet stitch into the next chain. After that, we're going to do a double crochet into the next chain, slowly working our way up. And then we're going to do 2 treble crochets. So I'm going to yarn over twice. These are also called triple crochets, so whichever term you prefer. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2 3 times. I'm going to work one more treble crochet. And then I'm going to go all the way back down. So I'm just going to do a double crochet again into that next chain. Half double crochet into the next chain. And then a single crochet into that last chain. And now I'm going to turn my work and work across the back side of these chain stitches now. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to work a single crochet into this same stitch that I just worked into. I like to kind of work over my tail as well in this step. That is totally optional. If it adds confusion, don't do it. You can weave it in later like normal, but it just saves me a step later. So I'm just going to lay that across the back side of my chain here. I've already worked that single crochet. Into that next chain, I'm going to do a half double crochet and then a double crochet into the next one, and then 2 trebles. So there's 1 treble or triple crochet, and then I'm going to do that one more time into the following chain. It's also pretty nice because you can just kind of mirror it on the other side. So like I worked a treble crochet there, I'm going to do one on the bottom of it, and then I'm going to do a double crochet, a half double crochet, and then finally I'm going to do a single crochet. I'm going to work 2 into that very last stitch to make that nice and round. And then to finish off our leaf, we're just going to slip stitch into that very first single crochet stitch. So insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook, and there's your slip stitch. And then I'm just going to trim this tail. Now, I prefer, for these specific flowers, I actually thread the wire through both the leaf and the flower, and I just weave in these ends like normal. If you would prefer to sew the flower to the, or sew the leaf, excuse me, to the flower, you could absolutely do that. Just leave a little bit longer of a tail, so that you have a little bit more to work with. So I'm just going to finish that off. And then I'm going to weave in the ends on this leaf and show you how to put the two together to form your flower. Alrighty, so now comes the fun part. I'm going to grab my flower and my wire. I'm going to turn the flower to the back side and then just kind of thread the wire through a few of the back stitches here, kind of wherever you can squeeze it in. Again, there's really not a right or a wrong way to do this. It's whatever kind of feels and looks best to you. There we go. So I just went through a few stitches there. Sorry if that went a little bit off camera. All right, push that through the back side of my work, and now I'm going to do the same thing with my leaf. So I have the wrong side facing me. I'm going to thread it through the end here, and I just like to kind of go, I know it's a little bit hard to see, but I like to go under and then around a couple of those middle spine chain stitches, and then pull that all the way through, kind of get it nice and snug underneath the leaf, underneath the flower, to make it look natural. And then I just kind of push it until it's about in the middle of my wire, and I like to pinch this part really tight to make it, again, nice and secure, and then cross the two together. So I'm just kind of bending them and crossing them at the same time, if you can see that, just to make the leaf and the, I keep wanting to say petal, the leaf and the flower nice and close together. And then I'm just going to twist these two wires around each other to form something that semi resembles a stem. We'll give it that. We won't give it more credit than it deserves. This will most likely be pretty hidden in the vase as well, depending on the material that you choose to kind of fill your vase. So keep that in mind. But there we go. There's our finished flower. And now you can make however many that you want and add them to your finished bouquet, arranging them in whatever way that you love. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed this super fun tutorial.